Are the judges ready?
Yeah.
This is the day, Sancho, on which will be seen the boon my fortune is reserving for me. This, I say, is the day on which, as much as on any other, shall be displayed the might of my arm, and on which I shall do the deeds which shall remain written in the book of fame for all ages to come. Thou seest that cloud of dust which rises yonder. Well then, all that is turned up by a vast army.
Once, in a small village in Spain, there lived a middle-aged gentleman named Quixote. This man incessantly read books of chivalry with such zeal that one day he hit upon the strangest idea, that he should dub himself a knight. He persuaded his gullible neighbor, Sancho Panza, to join him in his endeavor by promising him an island. And so, together, the two began to roam the countryside as knights errant in search of adventure. Don Quixote, written by Miguel de Cervantes, was published in 1605, a time when literature was dominated by tales of knights in shining armor. This book is a parody of those tales, poking fun at the stories of chivalry.
In our story, Sancho has just been heartily thrashed by a group of rascals who enjoyed taking him in a blanket and flinging him into the air. All the while, Don Quixote cowardly sat on his donkey, cowardly watching the episode from afar. Sancho is now returning to his master.
All I know is that since we have been knights errant, we have never won a battle, except the one with the Biscayan. But even that, your worship came out with half an ear and half a helmet less. And from then till now, it's all been cudgeling with cudgeling. Cuffs and more cuffs. I'm getting the blanketing over and over again, and falling in with enchanted persons from whom I cannot avenge myself. Thus talking, Don Quixote and his squire were going along, when Don Quixote perceived approaching them a large and thick cloud of dust, on seeing which he turned to Sancho.
Thou seest that cloud of dust which rises yonder? Well then, all that is turned up by a vast army composed of various and countless nations that comes marching there.
According to that, there must be two, for on this opposite side there arises such another cloud of dust. Don Quixote turned to look, and rejoiced exceedingly. He concluded that there must be two armies about to engage and encounter in the midst of this broad plain.
Now the cloud of dust he had seen was raised by two great droves of sheep, coming along the same road in the opposite direction, which, because of the dust, did not become visible until they drew near. However, Don Quixote asserted so positively that they were armies that Sancho was led to believe it.
Well, what are we to do, senor?
What? Give aid and assistance to the weak and those who need it. And thou must know, Sancho, that this which comes opposite to us is conducted and led by the mighty Emperor Ali Fanfaron. This other that comes marching behind me is that of his enemy, the king of the Garamantas, Pentapolin of the bare arm, for he always goes in battle with his right arm bent. That knight whom thou seest yonder in the yellow armor is the valiant Lord Calco, Lord of the Silver Bridge. That other of gigantic frame is the ever dauntless Brandabar de Bullish, Lord of the Three Arabias, who for armor wears that serpent skin and has for shield a gate.
Senor? Devil take it if there's a sign of any man you talk of, knight or giant in the whole thing. Maybe it's all enchantment like these phantoms last night.
How can thou say that? Dost thou not hear the neighing of steeds, the braying of trumpets, and the roll of drums?
I hear nothing but the great bleating of ewes and sheep. The
fear thou art in, Sancho, prevents thee from seeing or hearing correctly. For one of the effects of fear is to derange the senses and make things appear differently from what they are. If thou art in such a fear, withdraw to one side, For alone I suffice to bring victory to the sight which I should give my aim.
And so saying, he gave Rocinante the spur and shot down the slope like a thunderbolt. Come back, singing Don Quixote. I found their sheep and you are charging. Come back. But not for all these entreaties did Don Quixote turn back.
On the contrary, he went on shouting, "Ho, knights, all ye who fight and follow under the banners of the valiant emperor, Pentopolin of the bare arm. Follow me all, ye shall see how easily I shall give him revenge over his enemy, Alifanfaron of the Tropobania."
And so saying, he dashed into the midst of the squadron of youths, and began spearing them with as much spirit and intrepidity as if you were transfixing mortal enemies in earnest. The shepherds and drovers accompanying the flock shouted at him to desist. Seeing it was no use, they ungirt their slings and began to salute his ears with stones as big as one's fist. Don Quixote gave no heed to the stones, but letting drive right and left, he kept saying,
"Where art thou, proud Alifanfaron? I am a single knight who would fain prove thy prowess hand in hand, and make thee yield thy life a penalty for the wrong thou dost to the valiant Pentopolin."
Here came a sugar plum that struck him on the side and buried a couple of ribs into his body. Feeling himself so smitten, he imagined himself slain or badly wounded for certain. But there came another almond which struck him, knocking 3 or 4 teeth and grinders out of his mouth in its course. Such was the force of the first blow, and the second, that the poor knight, in spite of himself, came down backwards off his horse.
The shepherds came up and felt sure they had killed him. So in all haste they collected their flock together, took up the dead beast, of which there were more than 7, and made off without waiting to ascertain anything further. All the while, Sancho stood on the hill watching the crazy feats his master was performing, and tearing his beard and cursing the hour and occasion when fortune had made him acquainted with it.
Did I not tell you to come back, Senor Don Quixote? And what you're going to attack was not armies, but droves of sheep?
That's how that thief of a sage, mine enemy, can alter and falsify things. And thou must know, Sancho, that it is a very easy thing for those of his sort to make us believe what they choose. At any rate, do this much, I beg of thee, Sancho, to undeceive thyself.
Oh, what is this that has happened to me? Clearly the sinner is mortally wounded.
Sancho in his heart resolved to quit his master and return home, even though he forfeited his reward and all hopes of his promised island. Bear in mind, Sancho, that all these tempests that fall upon us are signs that farewell is coming shortly. And thou must know, Sancho, that it is impossible for good or evil to last forever. And hence, the evil having lasted so long, the good must now be nigh at hand. Thank you.